Good evening. I'm Pratt Wiley, the President and CEO of the partnership. Every culture has a tradition of gathering around the hearth, where we cultivate and sustain the relationships, the feelings, and the values that are core to our collective center. This ritual, it gives us emotional, and at times even physical, warmth and nourishment. And it is through this ritual that a group of people, a cohort if you will, becomes something more and something greater. They become a community. Over time, these rituals may be disrupted and they may be adapted, but there is a continuous thread of gathering to celebrate our achievements, to honor sacrifices made on our behalf, and to renew our hope for a brighter future, a place where we all belong and we all prosper. And that's why we're gathering here today, to celebrate, to honor, and to renew. Welcome to the Partnership's 2020 annual meeting. Our setting may be different, but our purpose is unchanged. And so now, to help kick off our program this evening, please join me in welcoming the chair of our board, Ms. Marcy Reed.
Good afternoon. I'm Marcy Reed, chair of the Partnership's Board of Directors. 2020 has been a year like no other. We took to our homes to seek shelter in the face of a global pandemic, and we took to the streets to seek justice in the face of centuries of systemic racism. This year has exposed many of the ills that still plague our city, our state, and our nation. There's been an explosion of anti-Asian racism. Our Black and Latinx communities have been disproportionately impacted by COVID. And sadly, Latinx and Native Americans are still nearly 3 times more likely than whites to have a fatal encounter with a police officer. And Black Americans are 4 times more likely. And our city still has the largest racial wealth gap in the nation. But 2020 has also demonstrated the need for the partnership's brand of leadership that's authentic and strategic, that's innovative and resilient. Members of the partnership community, participants and alumni alike, have stepped into the leadership void and have guided us through this moment. When so many felt invisible, you made sure people were seen. When so many felt silenced, you made sure they were heard. When so many felt isolated, you made sure they weren't alone. And when so many have been down, your leadership has lifted us all up. From CEOs and chief justices to analysts and administrators, our neighborhoods and companies have relied upon you, the partnership community. You bring essential leadership skills, your organizational skills, and relationship skills to the challenge. You offer resiliency, adaptability, efficacy, and cross-cultural literacy as solutions. In you is the promise of more innovative, effective, and efficient organizations. Demand for the partnership services and for leaders like you has never been greater. As a board, we find no joy in the social and civic pain that's driving this demand. But my board colleagues and I are immensely proud that the partnership will continue to be part of the solution, because differences do drive success. Thank you. And now please welcome Paul Alexander, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Eastern Bank, and also the Vice Chair of the partnership.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Alexander, Vice Chair of the Partnership Board and Chief Marketing Officer at Eastern Bank. This year illustrated the power of community, how connection can be empowering, while isolation can be debilitating. Just think about how new communities have formed this year. In response to systemic isolation, many people and families created pods with folks who share the same values and routines. In these pods, we are safe and we can be normal. In these pods, we are both supported and uplifted. Because of our time in the pod, we are actually stronger, healthier, and more secure in those times than when we leave. But if you replace the word pod with cohort or fellow or partnership, you recognize that the strategies used across the world to cope with the emotional and physical toll of social distancing are the same strategies offered by the partnership for the past 30 plus years. The partnership has never wavered from being that pod, the place where we can be safe and feel normal, the place where we can take off our armor and be vulnerable, where we can share our fears as well as our hopes. After 2020, this year of racial reckoning, we all understand the universal desire for a place to belong, and we all understand how systems, how we live, and how we work need to change in order for us to get there. And the systems are changing. For example, more than 40 Fortune 500 companies have pledged to add Black and Latino members to their board of directors. Here in Massachusetts, leaders of color have joined the boards and assumed leadership roles at the Massachusetts Business Roundtable, AIM, and the Massachusetts Competitive Partnership. My friend, Micho Spring, is the first Latina chair of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. Biogen is now banking with a Black-owned bank. Kevin Churchwell will be the next CEO of Boston Children's Hospital, the leading children's hospital in the world. Ken Turner will be the CEO of the Mass Life Science Center, cultivating the #1 life science ecosystem on the planet. And Governor Baker has appointed Kim Budge, Serge George, and Dalila Argayez-Wendland to the Supreme Judicial Court. And of course, there are the 274 talented leaders of color who are completing their associates, fellows, biodiversity fellows, and NGE programs today. We are all in the same pod, and we look to you to use your partnership experience and the momentum of this moment to enlarge that pod. This is how we all become stronger, healthier, and ensure the lessons of 2020 will not be forgotten. Peace and blessings to you all, and I'll turn things back over to Pratt. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. At the partnership, we have a tradition. Whenever we achieve a milestone, we thank those who helped us get there, and we look around and we identify who we're going to bring along with us. And this year, we want to thank those who helped us get through what was a most difficult year. This is a chance for us to thank all of our frontline heroes who have helped make this difficult year a little bit more bearable.
I'm a metaphor guy, and I think that the closest metaphor I can sort of think of with regard to this year is it was like tightrope walking in the middle of a hurricane, trying to balance on the one hand, taking care of some of the sickest patients I've ever taken care of in an emergency room setting.
When you look at Stop and Shop, right, there was this massive overnight influx of people coming into our stores and buying everything possible off of the shelves, right? And our associates, were working longer hours. Our associates were putting themselves out there in any way that they could to help our customers, to help ensure all of our community members have what they need.
For me personally, it was an extra level because I'm an immunologist. This is my field. This is what I study. And so I had a lot of friends, co-workers, family members who were calling and saying, please explain this to me. What's going on? What do I do? And there were a lot of, what's the best thing? And I was like, remember when your mother told you to wash your hands? Guess what? That works here. And so there was a lot of advice personally that I was having to give. And there was an extra level of it because it wasn't simply the pandemic. There were also the protests. And so within my organization and across many of the organizations that I'm affiliated with, I was that Black voice. I was asked, what can we do? What more can we do? And the inequities of the pandemic was something that I knew all too well, and yet it was enlightening for others. And so it was almost like, it's always been there. But I'm glad you're here now.
I think for National Grid and for my colleagues, having been in so many storms and knowing that the primary purpose of us is to deliver reliable energy to our customers, the team was very focused on just that. What is it that we need to do and how do we need to get prepared to deliver reliable service for our customers? One of the things I worry about is because managing life, the crisis, the family is chaotic, because gatherings are impossible and a lot harder for many years, I think. I worry that we will lose an opportunity to continue to build connections, to find strength in each other, and to be able to hold each other up and hold hands and grow together.
Providing resources across a number of different ways. Yes, we gave to the food bank. Yes, we gave for nursing home testing opportunities. Yes, we gave to researchers to really explore what can we be doing in this space to better understand the science. Not simply developing a new therapy, but better understanding the science behind the differences that we're seeing. That to me was beautiful because it was beyond the business, right? It wasn't about finding the next therapy and manufacturing the next therapy. It was doing the right thing. It was social responsibility.
You know, as Black people, as people of color in this country, we are trained to have silent endurance, unfortunately, in this country. We are trained to persist. We are more ready than we could have been, just sort of existing in this country. And so, you know, when we talk about the healthcare disparities, I think that's where myself and many other people of color who were on the front lines found the strength to not only do the job that we're supposed to do, but like Cherie said, do the job she's supposed to do, and also advocate at a higher level, right? Because that's her obligation. That's the obligation that I feel too. And, you know, it's a privilege to be in these positions to be able to do that.
I would say definitely the thing we're most proud of is what keeps the grocery store running. It's our associates, right? We've given the $10 million to COVID, you know, we've given $5 million to fight racial injustice and internal commitments, but our grocery stores wouldn't keep going and being so resilient without those associates.
What a great example of the power of community. And the partnership really is a community. It's a theme that we return to time and time again. And an integral part of our community are our corporate sponsors. These are more than the folks who keep our lights on and our bills paid, but rather these are the folks who support us so that we can then in turn support our 274 participants and our more than 5,000 alumni, engage with more than 125 companies, and be a force for change throughout our communities, our Commonwealth, and our nation. I want to take a moment to thank our premier sponsors and the sponsors of our annual meeting. They start with Biogen, BNY Mellon, Dell, Eastern Bank, John Hancock, Liberty Mutual, MFS Investment Management, National Grid, the TJX companies, Vertex, Wellington Management. And there's one firm I want to thank in particular, and that's the law firm of Foley Hoag. In a year when so many of us sought shelter in our homes, we can never again take for granted how special it is to have a home. And the folks at Foley and Hoag, led by managing partner Ken Leonetti, who is also a member of our board, have been providing the partnership with a home for all of these years. We are so eternally grateful to all of our premier sponsors for your continued support for the partnership and our mission. And speaking of mission and purpose and impact, this year revealed a new level of leadership within the city of Boston that became an example across the country. It was the birth of a new fund, a new Commonwealth fund. Each of our corporate partners is focused on impact.
So, you know, really this fund, it did come together, you know, fairly organically, I would say. And that's really how it began, literally on a text string on, I think, a Thursday or a Friday. That Sunday, we had our first meeting, came together with 9 of us and said, you know, who else can, you know, we want to bring into this discussion. And the discussion really was, what can we do? How can we use our influence? We were hearing from corporations, our corporations. We're hearing from people across the community saying, you know, what can we do in this moment of racial equity? And that's really what got the conversation started.
Being able to have 19 of us come together that quickly and to all agree on an approach that has yielded, you know, our first round of grants, $1 million round of grants, it's unbelievable in a couple of months. And so, but this is the power of collaboration. This is the power of coalition. This is what, you know, what we can do as a community.
This was a welcome opportunity to say, you know, this is a leadership role that I've been playing all along, but now I have the opportunity to do it in a completely different way, at a different scale, you know, because we have entire corporations, companies that are ready to hear it.
And, you know, it was interesting during that call, that first initial call, we all agreed that we would go back to our CEOs. Not to our heads of HR, not to anybody else, but to our CEOs directly, and we were going to make the ask. And we were going to say to them, that not only do we want them to be a part of this, to contribute, but that we as representatives of the organization were going to lead the effort on behalf of the organization. This was a very strategic and direct action-oriented ask, because what we wanted to show and to prove is that, hey, we can do the work, that the people that look like us who are leading these not-for-profit organizations know the work better than anyone, and they're the ones who are least resourced, right, to the tune of 2% of every dollar. And so we wanted to directly impact their ability to serve more people in our communities, and we wanted to lead that.
We need to do something revolutionary that we've never done before from Eastern Bank. And that's where we started. And I think that's where those conversations started at all the companies, right? This is a moment, this is 400 years in the making. It's going to take a lot of change, effort, commitment, and financial resources to make a difference. And it's not going to be changed with a single check.
For us at Boston Scientific, it wasn't a surprise, so diversity and inclusion is one of our core values. We talk about it a lot, we publish our data, but I think what this did was it unleashed a deeper conversation, right? We sort of have always just gone straight to like the metrics, right? This uncovered the dialogue and the conversations, which leads to, I think, real progress, right? And it's caused us to look internally, in terms of what are we doing with our people, or what are we doing to retain our people, what are we doing to attract people? Because we were hearing that from our employees, and because we were hearing our employees say, and what are we doing outside of Boston Scientific, right? That has led to this broader, deeper conversation about the community and about our responsibility, our corporate responsibility for the communities that we live in. And again, it's something that we've always done. We've always done great work with the Boys and Girls Club. We've also done great work around STEM in our communities. But again, this has led to a very different, deeper conversations where we've talked about not just doing some of those more superficial things, but how can we really move the needle here? How can we do something transformational in our communities so that 5-10 years down the road here, we realize we have made a significant change, and not just the 19 of us in our corporations, but we have created a group of allies and supporters behind us to make this happen.
I think this is an opportunity for the partnership family, the 5,000 alum, to really join this effort, personally, individually, but also through your corporations, right? There are 125 companies represented in the different partnership programs, and we need all of those companies to be part of that fund. We need all of you as partnership members of the partnership family to join this effort.
I'm proud of our Black and Brown employees who have challenged us at Eastern that we need to be even better. And it's been their push that has really led us to embarking on, a mission as we move forward that is really groundbreaking internally within the organization, right? And that hasn't just come from my conversations or our board's conversations. That's come from a teller in a branch, or someone in human resources, or a person of color in our loan operations department saying, we need you to do more. This is what we're seeing. And I think that's the moment, that's what's driving this change, is that it's not just the top of the house feeling that they have all the authority to do it. And it's not just the grassroots, at the bottom trying to push up change at the top. It's really everybody coming together at the same time. That's what's creating the momentum and the opportunity that we have right now.
When you look at the website, you'll see the 4 pillars that we're focused on. And, it's hard to believe that, for any Black or Brown individual, that at least one of those pillars does not resonate with you. And so I would say, look at those pillars. And as you're thinking about giving money, as you're thinking about volunteering, think about what you can do with respect to one or each of those pillars. And then the other thing I would say is, as you give financially, tap into whether or not your company does a corporate match. Most of the companies do that, and it's been a nice way for us to double the money that comes into the fund.
We hope that you join us in this effort. Please visit www.newcommonwealthfund.org and see how you can be a part of this effort, either by donating or by joining us as a volunteer, and or making your company aware of the goal.
Thank you to all of the members of the New Commonwealth Fund. And now to our guests of honor, the 274 participants in our associates, our fellows, our biodiversity fellows, and our NGE program. They're the real stars of the show.
partnership has taught me the power of connection.
Effective effort leads to development and growth.
How to avoid climbing up the ladder of assumptions and to check myself before I wreck myself.
One thing that I take away from the partnership this year is that self-reflection is the key to success.
It's the mindset on efficacy, which is effort controls outcome.
One important takeaway that the partnership has taught me is to truly be comfortable being my authentic self.
What I learned is how to communicate better, listen better, which has improved the way how I lead the team.
It taught me to find my voice, not only for me, but for those that do not have one.
One important takeaway which got validated for me was the power of collaboration. The cohorts really help provide different perspectives.
One important takeaway the partnership taught me was that I have to be my biggest advocate.
And it's just been so awesome to find a community of people who are interested and invested in making this world better. It's been really, really wonderful to be doing this during this time. Thank you.
Aren't our participants fantastic? They demonstrate the professional excellence and the commitment to community that has always been a hallmark of this organization. Our participants have been a point of pride. They've also been a point of loss. Dr. Khalid Khawaja, a member of our Biodiversity Fellows program, passed away in August. Khalid would often directly come from the operating room to one of our Zoom sessions and participate fully. His compassion and his leadership left an impression on his cohort, his colleagues at Beth Israel Deaconess, and on the whole partnership team. Our thoughts continue to be with his family, his friends, his colleagues, and to all those lost in 2020. Each day, the partnership helps individuals and organizations be more innovative, resilient, and authentic in their leadership. We at the partnership have been a more innovative and resilient organization because of the partnership's extraordinary team. Roseanne Carboni, Jackie Deneen, Karen James, Sebastian Patino, Jaquetta Van Sant, Anjali Wara, and most especially our Chief Operating Officer, Carmen Arce Bowen. It's been a privilege to work with them each and every day, and I thank you. I also wish to thank our incredible board of directors. Every CEO hopes for a board that can appreciate the challenges of the next 30 days and envision the opportunities of the next 30 years. And that's exactly what we have under the leadership of Marcy Reed. In a year marked by pandemics and marches, grief and hope, every board member has supported me and the partnership. And this support means more than I can possibly express. I want to thank our amazing corporate clients. These 122 companies and organizations are working each and every day to create climate where all professionals can thrive, no matter who you are or where you're from. These firms recognize that talent is the greatest long-term competitive advantage, that those companies that best identify, recruit, and advance talent are those that win. And I especially want to thank those members of our executive council. In a year of unprecedented challenges, they have shared their insights and their expertise, as represented by the Pandemic Resource Guide, written by practitioners for practitioners. But finally, I want to thank our wonderful participants and alumni. You've welcomed us into your converted offices, in your kitchens, in your bedrooms, in your basements, in your living rooms. And while this wasn't designed, I believe it was karma. 30 years ago, the partnership orientation was held in my parents' living room. This organization was founded in a boardroom, but it was built in a living room. I saw firsthand how simple gestures of a warm embrace, the gift of time and mentorship, access to world-class and cutting-edge education, and unconditional support could transform lives, companies, and industries. And over the years, I've seen that same process transform a group of 20 strangers into a family of more than 5,000. I want to issue this very simple challenge. Continue to set your sights on the corner office and the boardroom, and we will continue to support you each and every step along the way. But keep in mind that in order for more of us to be in the boardroom, it starts with having more of us in the living room. So over the next year, who are you going to welcome into your living room? Do you have a classmate, a friend, a colleague who's seeking to take the next step of their career or is feeling isolated and disconnected? Welcome them into your living room. Introduce them to the partnership and invite them to join us. Do you sit on a corporate board or do you engage with executives who are striving to innovate and open up new markets? Welcome them into your living room. Introduce them to the partnership and invite them to join us. Do you believe that others can benefit from your insights, your expertise, your time, and your treasure? Welcome others into your living room. Sponsor a participant, invite them to join us. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining us as we celebrate and honor our partnership community. I hope you stay safe. I hope you stay healthy and have a good night.